Visual novels have been slowly gaining in popularity on a global scale. I mean, when you think about otaku, you think about the usuals, anime, manga, cosplaying, but visual novels have kind of been in the shadows when compared to the others. Again, they're rising up and they do already have a few very established fan bases, but when you think about a visual novel, more often than not, you think of its anime adaptation. Nevertheless, visual novels are without a doubt respected, and one of my personal favorites isn't even professionally done. One of my first experiences with visual novels was Katawa Shoujo, which means disability girls. Now, when I say it wasn't professionally done, I don't mean it's garbage. I just mean that it was made by some people in their free time, not some big production company. This is far from garbage. It truly is a great visual novel. Katawa Shoujo is a dating sim, which, as the name suggests, has you choose between one of 5 girls, all of whom have a different physical disability. That may seem bizarre, or like it would try to make fun of handicapped people, but that is not the case in the slightest. The whole game and each individual character are handled incredibly well and with respect. Katawa Shoujo started with a post to the internet forum 4chan. A user by the name of Raida Hanjo had created another visual novel. At the end of this novel was a sketch of 5 handicapped girls and descriptions of their disabilities. These are the bases for the heroines in Katawa Shoujo. From there, users from all over came together and made 4-Leaf Studios to make this novel a reality. Okay, quick disclaimer. This is certainly not the case with all visual novels, but Katawa Shoujo does have some adult scenes. However, there is the option to disable them, so nothing can be seen. Now, obviously I'm not going to show any of that, but I felt like it had to be said in order to fully cover the game and not catch anyone by surprise. Katawa Shoujo is a non-linear visual novel. This means you read the text on the screen, like a novel, but there are also sprites and backgrounds to present the world to you. The game has branching plot lines, which can be taken based on various decisions made in the game. In order to see all that the story has to offer, it will require multiple playthroughs. Each path, excluding the very worst one, has 4 acts, and each story can end in a good, bad, or neutral ending. Act 1 will always be the same as it introduces the characters, but from Act 2 and onwards, the game changes. It also has an anime art style, which is common in visual novels. The game starts as the main character, Hisao Nakai, has a longtime crush confess her love to him. Without warning, his heart rapidly speeds up, and before he can respond, he has a heart attack. He wakes up and is told he has arrhythmia, or an irregular heartbeat, and will have to be more careful with himself so as to not trigger it. He ends up being in the hospital for months, slowly becoming more jaded with his life. Then one day, Hisao's parents and doctors tell him he's able to leave. However, they say that he won't be returning to his old school and, much to his anger, has been transferred to a school called Yamaku Academy. Yamaku Academy is a school that caters to students with physical handicaps, regardless of what they are. Some of the characters were born with their disabilities, while others went through an event that made them handicapped. Students without disabilities are still welcome, as are those with mental handicaps, but there is no catering to them beyond what any typical school would do. Hisao arrives at Yamaku with a bit of disdain. He has an initial discomfort around the other students, despite the fact that everybody is there due to some physical impairment, himself included. However, after meeting a number of people, he slowly begins to make friends and even begins to take an interest in some of the girls he meets. There are 5 girls for Hisao to choose from. Emi, a tiny hyperactive girl with artificial legs. Shizune, a deaf-mute who is also the class rep for Hisao's class. Rin, a peculiar aloof girl without arms who's also a painter. Lily, a well-mannered half-Japanese, half-Scottish blind girl. And Hanako, a shy girl with severe scarring from burns. You can see their likenesses in the original sketch. Each of the girls is also paired up with one of the others in their respective stories. Lily and Hanako are friends, and have been since they started going to Yamaku. Rin and Emi were set up as hallmates since their teacher saw that they could be a good match and became friends. Shizune is with a 6th girl named Misha. Misha's not a romance option, and she doesn't have any noticeable handicap, but she knows sign language and is integral to Shizune's story and Hisao's introduction to the academy. This is something that I find really charming about the game, even though it isn't a big deal in the game itself. Each of the pairings makes sense. Lily's blind, so she doesn't care about what Hanako looks like, and Hanako doesn't have to be shy about her looks around Lily. Emi has arms for Rin, and Rin has legs for Emi. Shizune can't speak, but Misha is more than capable of doing the talking for the both of them. Seeing how well each pairing works just brings a smile to my face. Plus, it's a representation for no matter what holds you back, other people can help you with it, be it physical or emotional. Each of the girls addresses her disability differently. Hanako is embarrassed by her scars due to being bullied when she was younger and feeling guilty about the fire that caused them. Emi tries to overcome it, constantly running because it was something she did with her father before her accident. Lily is as self-sufficient as she can be, doing everything she can on her own, but not shying away from asking for help. Shizune is like Lily, trying to do everything she can, but is far more limited, much to her irritation. Rin doesn't pay her handicap any mind, still willing to paint and give hugs. Hisao also meets a few other characters who appear in every storyline. There's Kenji, a partially blind comic relief character who lives right across the hall and is convinced that every woman is a feminist who wants to take over the world and destroy all men. Yuko, a librarian and waitress who's too nervous for her own good and has little self-confidence. There's Muto, a teacher who tries to look after Hisao and push him towards science as a career. And there's the nurse, a nameless character who takes care of the students at Yamaku Academy. In addition to these people, there are also certain characters that appear exclusively in a few of the storylines. There's actually one more character, Iwanako. A person you only ever see once, and it's from the back. She's the person that confessed to Hisao and inadvertently triggered his arrhythmia, prompting him to go to Yamaku. Midway into any of the girls' routes, he'll get a letter from Iwanako. For some routes, he doesn't read it, and for others, it makes him incredibly confused between his old and new lives. Act 2 is reached upon making decisions, effectively choosing a girl to end up with. You're shown who the storyline will focus on by these quick animated segments, which foreshadow events that will happen with the girl. These scenes aren't important for anything, and they're honestly just little extras thrown in to further connect you to these characters, but I love them! They're so well made and the art style is so charming, I consider it one of the highlights of the game. Even if nothing would be lost without them, I'm really glad that they're there. These segments are made by Mike Inell, an artist who's made his own little visual novel, Days, and that popular Gravity Falls anime scene.
Hey! Your parents aren't here!
Now, as the game is about the 5 girls' individual stories, here are my preferred storylines, from least favorite to favorite. I really didn't care much for Rin. Her initial indifference towards literally everything I thought was something she would overcome as you got closer to her, but it stuck around for essentially the entire story. It was more like Hisao was there for her story as opposed to making a story about the two of them. Admittedly, Rin can be a funny character, but I thought even Hisao himself was pretty stupid in this route. Shizune is next on the list. I still liked Shizune, but she was too work-driven to focus on Hisao. I saw that early on and began dreading what their story would be. There were so few soft moments between the two, it seemed like there was a boundary that just couldn't be crossed. Shizune's story doesn't really end with a bright future for Hisao and Shizune, but it ends with a bright future for Hisao and a bright future for Shizune. Also, if your goal is Misha, she's on the Shizune bad route, but again, she's really not a romance option. This may seem like an odd curveball, but the worst ending in the game is next. It probably should be my least favorite given how it ends, but I found myself enjoying it for one reason, Kenji. In this route, Hisao doesn't pick any of the girls and just hangs out with his eccentric neighbor instead. But Kenji is such a funny, over-the-top character that I found myself getting excited whenever he popped up in the game. So a route with him and Hisao becoming friends was fun, despite the fact that it wasn't supposed to be fun. Number 3 is Emi. She was a very well-rounded character with quite an interesting backstory. I probably would have placed her higher if she was just a little less stubborn. Not because I dislike stubborn people, but because it seemed unnecessary when Hisao was already her boyfriend. Nevertheless, her almost cheery personality made her somber moments much more impactful, and that makes for a more engrossing backstory. Next is Lily. I really appreciated how she did everything she could with her situation. She knew what she could do, and knew when to ask for help. She can pour tea, but can't navigate a grocery store. And she always accepted help. She wasn't too proud, something that can really bother me. And the way she occasionally shows Hisao what her disability is like and what it allows her to do is incredible. She really showed how blindness could also empower a person instead of just limit them. Plus, her sister, Akira, is a great character, and their family situation is something I was interested in. Also, Lily doesn't have a bad ending, but the neutral ending makes you feel so empty it might as well be bad. As the power of deduction tells us, my favorite storyline was Hanako. Hanako was the girl I went for when I first played the game. I saw her in the back of the room in the beginning, and when she first popped her head up, I was immediately interested in why she was so shy and quiet. In all honesty, despite her scars, Hanako's disability seems more psychological, and while Yamaku doesn't really accommodate for these people, the psychological wounds are caused by her physical wounds, so she's somewhere in that gray area. Hanako is such a sullen character that when you actually make her smile, it feels like a real accomplishment. Her storyline also makes Hisao seem more driven than in the others. Everything about her route, from slowly piecing her backstory together and earning her trust, to the confession, this story is why Katawa Shoujo hit me so hard. Overall, each story ends with a decent amount of closure. Some end with more than others, but when they end is still appropriate for each character. Honestly, I don't know if I would recommend Katawa Shoujo to just anybody. Only if you really liked visual novels, or wanted to get into them, or just wanted a really good story would I suggest you play it, because reading text is as much gameplay as you're going to get in it. Nevertheless, this is a gem of a visual novel, and one that I will always think highly of. Just be prepared for the feels. Thanks for watching me talk. As always, feel free to follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and check out some of our other videos. We have animations, and there are 2 other guys besides me on this channel, so check them out. Thanks for stopping by. No, I don't think any of the systems are going to be new enough for that.
I was just going to say this only has an HDMI cable, so...
Yeah. Wop wop.